I'm gonna hide this tape when I'm finished. If none of us make it, at least there'll be some kind of record.
Never grow old, Michael.
The blackest eyes, the deathless eyes. Showtime.
Spray the first blood. Spray the first blood. Spray the first blood. Spray the first blood. Spray the first blood.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Sinister Scripts Podcast, where we watch all the horror movies you love and some that you don't. I am here live with my co-host, David.
That would be me, dickhead. What else did you call me earlier today?
Dingus.
Dingus.
Yes, we are here live at the Aurora Theater here in Roswell.
Good old Roswell, Georgia.
And for those of you who don't know where to find us, you can find us on Instagram at Sinister Scripts, Facebook at Sinister Scripts, TikTok at Sinister Scripts Podcast. You can also find all of our episodes on YouTube Music, Apple Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all your normal spots. So go check us out, listen to the podcast. There's 13 or 14 episodes on there now.
Something like that, yeah.
So yeah, and this
right.
will be the next episode. So this is our instant reaction for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974 that we just got out of the theater watching. So I don't know. What do you think, David?
I loved it. I loved seeing it on the big screen because I've never seen it like that before. And I was trying to go in with a mindset of like, hey, this is the first time 1974 seeing this movie in the theater. Like, tried to feel that way because I can't imagine. Like, obviously neither one of us was born back then or would have been old enough to even see it. But how cool would it have been to have seen this movie in the theaters in 1974?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, I always think, like, especially now with like Terrifier 3 coming out and like the brutality of those movies, and I'm looking back to myself and I'm like, man, was this like the original like brutality movie? Like, can Art the Clown run because Gunnar Henderson walked? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Not Gunnar Henderson. Sorry, that's a baseball player. Gunnar Hansen.
Get it right, goddammit.
I knew who I was talking about.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, so like it's like, did those like these characters that we're seeing now, like, were they possible because of, Leatherface and Toby Hooper and like?
I would say so, yeah. I mean, that would definitely kick-started a lot.
It's just like I can imagine, like, and I did like how they had that little bit before the movie where they were interviewing a few people and they were like, yeah, he wanted people to walk out of this movie. Like,
oh yeah.
I mean, that's kind of. I mean,
it's a good reaction to have.
This movie it's fucking gnarly. I mean, even for 1974, like it's dirty, it's filthy. It's like you feel uncomfortable, like you're watching it, and it's like. It's like everyone's hot and sweaty and just gross.
Gross, yeah. And it felt a little bit like it's been a little over a year since I've watched this one, and I haven't seen it too many times. Like, I don't remember it being like as kind of gory as it is, even though there's not a whole lot of gore. But
right.
Like, I always remembered it as like there wasn't a whole lot. But like after watching that, I was like, oh wait, never mind, I was wrong.
Yeah,
there is blood in it.
It's pretty brutal. And like, I mean, for me, like, I think this is one of those movies that's like a 10 out of 10. Like, this is a masterpiece, and I'm glad to have watched it on the big screen too. It does put it in a little bit different perspective and like changes the way that you watch it. And
absolutely. Yeah.
So I mean, like, I feel like we'll do like a quick scene by scene just because most people have seen it. Yeah, so. This is like not a new one, but it's essentially focuses on a group of folks that's, young people that are going through backwoods Texas to their old like family home to check it out, and they run across Leatherface and his deranged fucked up family who are a bunch of sadistic cannibals, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, that's all you need to know.
I mean,
story-wise,
right? But like, it's just, I don't know. Like, I hate Franklin's character so much.
Oh, I'm glad you brought this up.
I fucking hate him.
Like, he's got to be like top 3 like characters that you hate and you root for to die in a movie. Like,
yeah.
God, he is so annoying. Like, just blowing raspberries like every 10 seconds and then just complaining. Like, what a fucking buzzkill.
Like, so basically, for those of you that aren't aware, the main character is Sally and her invalid brother, Franklin, who is in a wheelchair, and he's just pretty insufferable. He's just like a giant, like...
a huge fifth wheel.
Yeah, and he's like complains the whole time and like, it just, like, sack up.
Yeah, right. It's just like come on. Dude.
I know it's hot, dude. It's hot. It's Texas in the middle of summer. You don't have air conditioning and you're in this shitty van. Like,
yeah, like you chose to go. You didn't have to go to this trip. Like...
Well, and he didn't get away from that trip because he got fucking butchered.
He got fucking chainsaw to the chest.
Yeah, so, I mean, this movie, I can't say enough good things about it. I'm a huge fan. I mean, I want to talk a little bit, like, I was looking through some fun facts about this one, which I didn't really know initially. Mm-hmm. And, you know, a lot of us, we always think, oh, they always tell you this is based on a true story. Apparently, it's not based on a true story.
And, like, mostly, like, Ed Gein and all that stuff.
Yeah, it was inspired by the real crimes of Ed Gein. They influenced Tobe Hooper in the writing and the idea for Texas Chainsaw. But there was not necessarily a specific event that was triggered by this.
No,
so.
Absolutely not. No.
Although, I mean, I am excited to see they're doing a new Monster on Netflix is doing Ed Gein as their next serial killer.
Yeah, with Jax from Sons of Anarchy.
Charlie Hunnam.
That should be interesting.
So yeah, so I mean, I'm like most horror fans, like fascinated by real life serial killers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe not the healthiest, but hey,
Something's wrong with you, boy.
I did think that it was interesting that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was not the original title, and I just told David this one. He's like, "Well, that's lame." So originally, the first title was Head Cheese because there was the scene when he picked up the hitchhiker in the beginning. He talked about the process and how that pork product of head cheese is made.
And it's just like, can you imagine if this movie was called Head Cheese?
Well, then it was changed to Leatherface.
Which I think, don't they have one that's called that?
I think so. And then a week before shooting was set to start, Hooper said that they said, "Hey, it was the head of the Texas Film Commission," and so they helped get the financing for the project. So they changed it to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
And that was probably the greatest decision he ever made.
Probably.
Besides making the movie, of course.
Right.
But yeah, like, what are you gonna have, like? Head Cheese 3D and, all the spin-offs and all that shit called Head Cheese? That would just be stupid as fuck.
Yep. Another piece of here. This was interesting. Gunnar Hansen was not the original Leatherface.
No?
So he passed away in 2015, I think, or 16. And so when he first heard that the film was being made, he was a graduate student in Austin. He was told that he'd be great for the role, but that it had already been cast. But then the original Leatherface quit. 2 weeks later, he said the guy calls him, and they said the guy who was hired as the killer is holed up drunk in a motel and won't come out. So there was, so he's quitting, and so he was like, "Hey, Hansen was 6'4", weighed 300 pounds. So as soon as
a big boy.
As soon as Tobe Hooper saw him, they said they hired him on site.
So he said he was locked in a hotel room, like just on a drunken bender.
Yep.
That sounds like me, like on a Saturday night.
I love all these like facts because there's a lot of stuff I didn't even know. Like Leatherface was inspired by real mental patients. Like that's not far-fetched.
No, probably not.
This is probably the most ridiculous one I see. Tobe Hooper wanted a PG rating.
Well, I mean, you got to think there was no PG-13, so it was either PG to R, and I don't see how the fuck he could have gotten a PG rating. At least, like, maybe like tone down the violence just a smidge, but you'd still have like all that like bones everywhere and just like gnarly like taxidermy and shit everywhere. Like he would have to change a lot of that too.
Yeah, I guess the MPAA told him that he could help his cause if he limited the amount of on-screen blood that they use.
Which really wasn't that much, but still, 1974. So.
Exactly. So
fucking PG. Could you imagine if that had a PG fucking rating these days?
And it even says here like so ultimately it got an R rating, but still it's probably not as gory as you might remember, which is kind of what you were alluding to. Like it's definitely not as gory or bloody as we might like. I almost feel like now that movie would get like I don't know. I'm like it's still probably an R film.
Well, if that came out as is right now, I think it'd be PG-13.
If it came out in the 90s, it would be a PG-13.
And it would suck because it's the 90s.
Hey, the 90s had some great horror.
It also had some real shit bags too. So
it did. It did.
Yes. But, what can you do?
This was an interesting. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre was produced on a budget of $60,000.
Man, can you imagine how much money they made back?
Right. It says a Texas Tech administrator and former member of the Texas legislature who wanted him to be a film producer. Even in 1973, this was like a shoestring budget. So the low budget, these fucking kids.
They're playing one of them punching games in the background, so sorry, y'all.
Jesus Christ.
The speed of light.
Teenagers are the fucking worst.
They are.
But yeah, so John Carpenter's, like his famously low budget for Halloween was made for 5 times what
really?
This one was made, yeah.
Okay. Shit.
So I think it's $300,000 for Halloween, and I think this one was $60,000. But and to make matters worse, the production endured the Texas summer, so the temperatures were in excess of 100 degrees.
Balls ass hot.
No air conditioning, interior shots. A single bathroom was shared by more than 3 dozen people.
Gross.
Costumes that couldn't be changed because they only had one set of clothes. Constant presence of bones and rotting meat that was used as props.
Oh, yeah.
And no member of the cast went uninjured, as the heat and stench got so bad at one point that the actors would run to the windows of the house where the dinner scene was shot to throw up and breathe fresh air.
Oh, bad, man. That room looked stuffy.
Like, that makes it even much more horrifying. I'm like, holy shit, that's exactly what I thought it would smell like.
Plus with, how long she's screaming. Like, how long is that scene? Like 5 to 7 minutes, and it's her screaming almost the entire time. Like, and then you have all the different takes and everything. Like, be a lot of hot air in that fucking.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because that dinner scene was a single shot.
No shit.
In a single marathon
wow.
day. The dinner
Good for
scene.
them.
Yeah. So
Good for that actress. Holy fuck, man.
Dude, yeah. I mean, it feels like you're actually watching a group of people like going nuts, because I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe we were watching people going nuts, like
Probably.
at a single, like I was thinking of a full day shooting and you're trying to get this right, like.
Yeah. Not to go off too much of a topic. Have you ever played Resident Evil 7? The first one where it's like in first person?
that scene is from this movie.
Yeah, that whole
I
scene
can
or
see
whatever.
that. I can see that
That's
now.
where they got it from this, yeah.
Yeah, so apparently the reason they had to do that scene in a single day is because John Duggan, the actor who played the grandpa, refused to endure the 10-hour process of him getting into that makeup a second time. So
Fuck
he said,
no.
he's like, once I'm in this shit first, like one time we're doing it, I'm not doing it again.
And he didn't have to really do anything, so he's like, all y'all, I'm counting on all y'all not to fuck this up for me.
It was funny how we were like joking about that dude. You were like, it looks like the guy from the Six Flags commercials.
What do you say? He was doing the Trump?
Yeah, it looked like he was doing the Trump, like he's jerking off ghosts. Like he was dancing, and I was like, oh my god, this fucking guy.
After he was sucking on the blood off that
sucking on an old lady's finger. Like, Jesus.
Gross.
What an idiot. And this is funny. That cast actually disliked Franklin.
What
hey,
a fucking
shocker.
surprise. Now wait, just the character or the guy who plays him?
It's like it says here, like when they didn't, like when he grows angry with his more able-bodied friends because he couldn't share in their fun.
Yeah.
The actor opted to take his very method approach. So it wasn't the actual guy. It was it was his method approach to playing the character of Franklin.
Which that character again?
God,
sucks
he was so annoying.
much.
Like, it's literally the character in the movie where you're like, can someone just please off this guy?
and of course, like he's the last to get killed.
Yeah.
It's like, damn it.
Like he was just whiny and just like insufferable. So,
Yeah.
that was pretty funny. And then Leatherface's victims treated him as an outsider behind the scenes. So like they tried to keep him away from the main cast just to make him more menacing.
I could see that.
And it said that he got so
way to do it.
smelly by the end of production that the rest of the cast and crew avoided eating around him.
I could see that. A big old, what was he, 6'4",
300 pound, like,
yeah.
dude just sweating it up.
Sweating his ass off.
I mean, but that's kind of funny. So they didn't want him anywhere near the actors and actresses.
Makes sense.
And then, he actually wore 3 different masks during the filming of this, actually.
Now, I noticed 2 of them.
But one had, like, makeup on, like, when he was at the dinner table.
Which was, I guess, was that the girl or was that, like, her boyfriend?
So there's the plain, like, the plain mask he wears for most of the film. Then there's the grandma mask, which he wears at dinner.
At dinner, okay.
To show, like, they said that it was to show the domestic side because he was. And then.
Get your ass in the kitchen.
And then the makeup mask that he wore when he was actually at the dinner.
Yeah.
So, because I guess that was that's like a Southern tradition of like dressing up for your evening meal kind of thing.
Okay.
So they're doing a play on that, which was interesting.
Right, yeah. I can see that.
And then this was an interesting one. The film's most beautiful shot almost didn't happen.
Was it the one of her walking?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's for all how brutal a film that is, it also makes the use of the natural beauty around it for some really awesome shots. The cinematography was beautiful.
That's an iconic shot.
Right. So the cinematographer Daniel Pearl said that it would be he would track under the swing and then follow Pam as she walks towards the house. And then you kind of get that menacing tone, and the music come in. Mm-hmm. So they didn't want to spend a lot of time on the shot, and it was almost cut, but they ended up keeping it in there.
Oh yeah, I mean obviously if it was cut, we wouldn't know any different. But I mean, it's such a great shot that everybody knows. So
I didn't know this one. So apparently the actress, the scene where they cut Sally's finger,
Yeah.
they actually cut her finger
Jesus.
so that her blood can be fed to the grandpa. It was supposed to be a special effect, but the knife, so that they used the knife, it was dull. Yeah, as he drugged it across her finger, he was supposed to squeeze this bulb, and it like pumped out this fake blood to simulate the cut.
Yeah.
But the tube kept clogging, so frustrated, he actually stripped the tape off of it and then actually cut her for real.
Jesus, I thought you were going to say, like, it ran out of budget, so they said, well.
No, but that's crazy. Like, how frustrated you have to be like, oh, forget this fake blood, let's cut this bitch for real.
I hope they got her, like, consent before they did that.
Right. Well, that's like, what was the movie with Django? Remember on Django where DiCaprio smashed his hand down on the table, and then he cut his hand and he rubbed the blood on Kerry Washington's face. He actually cut his hand open on a glass in that scene, and like so it was real blood. So her reaction was freaking out, was real. Like sometimes this stuff, I love the little facts like that. Like that's crazy shit. But like
pretty cool.
And then yes, the chainsaw was real. So all the teeth obviously were removed for some of the shots, but the chainsaw that he wielded was an actual working chainsaw.
Good for them.
And then it says sometimes put the cast members in danger, actually.
Good.
So
they knew what they signed up for.
that's kind of what I think. I mean,
sign up for a movie called Head Cheese. You're like, all right, there's going to be a chainsaw.
yeah. The cast actually did not get to share in the film's success because of the low budget. Many of the stars took ownership shares in the film rather than a salary, but their shares were actually percentages of Vortex, which was the company set up to produce the film. Since they only own half of the film, with Parsley owning the other half, the shares that were sliced in half, many of them apparently didn't realize that. So essentially they didn't make jack shit off the movie.
Which sucks, but I mean, that happens with a lot of really low budget films like this one was at the time. So sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. You know?
Ed Neal, the guy who played the hitchhiker, said 3 months and no check. Later, he said 6 months, no check, 9 months, and then he finally got a check for $28.45.
Oh, well, what can you do?
Funny shit, man. So yeah, This movie is a classic, and I think you have to respect like what it was able to do
for the horror genre, and
right, just like being that gateway film that like set everything up for success. Because like to me, if like they don't make that movie, I feel like there's a lot of movies that don't exist because as a result, because all of these directors and actors, I feel like they have like inspiration that they draw from these films, right?
Absolutely,
like
absolutely.
This one and Halloween and Freddy and Friday the 13th, like all of these are like, I mean, and then if you want to go even further back, you know, even go back to black and white, you know, all the Dracula and the monster movies,
the monster, the Universal monsters.
You know, it's changed. So I think that this is, I don't know, I fucking love this movie.
It's great. I love it.
I honestly like. I kind of want to shift to talk about the remake because I almost like the remake better, but not because of like. I feel like you're kind of. It's apples and oranges.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like they took everything that worked about this one. And then they were like, hey,
how do we make it look better?
Right. And more brutal. And like they didn't shy away from the kills.
No, that one was a lot more brutal, which is why I enjoyed it more, because I was like, I want to see people get hacked the fuck up with chainsaws. But they didn't fuck anything up with it. They didn't like remove anything that didn't need to be removed. They didn't add anything that needed to be added, like story-wise and all that kind of shit. Like it was a great take on it.
Right. Even little things they did, like obviously this one you had the hitchhiker, he cut his hand and then like kind of freaked out and cut Franklin's arm and then dipped out of the van. And then the remake, remember, she pulled a freaking pistol out and like shot herself in the van. Remember?
She pulled it out of her.
Yeah, exactly. She had concealed weapon. But yeah, so like that was like an interesting like twist on it, but like still kept it more or less the same. I also like the house better in the second one.
In the remake, it was just much more menacing.
Yeah, just looking. Like the stone pillars in the front.
Yeah,
I thought that was like
it definitely looked like a house you don't fuck with.
Right, like a creepier location. And then what's his name? Is it Arlie Ermey?
Arlie Ermey is the dad. Yeah,
so great. Like what a fucking gem. Like they couldn't you couldn't have picked a better like character actor for that role. 100%. So like, and then obviously, I mean, I don't know. Your
Texas Chain, like, you know, Leatherface looked cool as fuck.
Yeah, like and then I feel like they kind of got off track for like a long time, and I feel like there haven't been any good ones since then.
I mean, like I've told you, the one that comes directly after the remake, which I think is called The Beginning, so it's a prequel because he gets his hand cut off at the.
Was that the
remake.
fucking Get 'em Cuz one?
No,
that shit sucked.
no. Though that one is fucking hot trash.
That's
no.
I think that one's just called the Texas Chainsaw Massacre
or Leatherface or something like that. No, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning, was the next remake right after the first one, and that one is even more brutal than the original remake. Like it's.
I need to see that.
There's some brutal ass shit in it. We
is
have
that
to
the one where the
watch
baby is like get in the dumpster in the beginning? I think it is.
Maybe
It's more like a origin story kind of. Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. But
okay.
No, it definitely doesn't have that get 'em cuz bullshit.
That was awful. Which one was that? I need to find out which one that was now. Keep talking.
I know the last one that came out on Netflix like during the pandemic was okay, but it was really nothing to write home with. And I think that one was just called Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like
okay, so we got the remake and then the beginning. This one. Yeah, this one. Texas Chainsaw from 2013.
Yeah.
Hot garbage. That was the one where the young woman, went to Texas to get like her inheritance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was fucking terrible.
That one's trash.
4.8 on IMDb. That's
okay,
justified.
Leatherface was the last one. Then,
that's when he escaped from the mental hospital and like kidnapped the nurse. Like that was weird.
That was a weird one. And I've only seen the one with Matthew McConaughey once. And I remember being in high school watching with my mom one night. And
Isn't
I was
that
like,
the
what
New Generation or something?
What am I watching? Yeah. That one was weird.
The Next Generation. It had Renee Zellweger.
Yeah. And I don't think I've ever actually seen just straight up part 3.
I
can't recall.
I've seen it. It's fine. I thought 2 wasn't like terrible. Like
2 was okay.
I liked like Dennis Hopper and fucking
Mosley.
Bill Mosley. Chop Top. Yeah, I thought that was fine. Like
yeah, it was fine for what it was.
But I feel like this is a series that like, man, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see some more from it.
Something good. Like
I mean, we haven't gotten anything since 2017 was Leatherface, and the last 2 have been bad. So we haven't had anything good since 2006.
No, apparently
it's fucking
not.
18 years, bro.
It's been a minute.
It's time for Leatherface to come back. Like, who do we need to direct? Let's get Fede Alvarez on this shit.
Yeah, I mean, he
did the
wonders
Evil Dead
for
remake.
Evil Dead. So.
Exactly. I'm like, who can do this movie? Like, I don't know. It was funny. I heard Damien Leone say that he had interesting thoughts on the Leatherface character, and I was like, shit, have fucking Terrifier treatment to Texas Chainsaw.
That could get really nasty. Real quick.
Well, I'm not gonna listen. Let's put it this way: in Terrifier 3, there is a scene with a chainsaw.
I heard, like, isn't it kind of like the first one, except it's a dude?
Yeah,
yeah.
It's like the same thing.
The shower scene,
that was my only that was my only thing is like the Terrifier franchise, and so I didn't realize we're switching, but the Terrifier franchise like prides itself on the uniqueness of the kills and the brutality of them, and I feel like they kind of recycled some things. Like they're like, oh, let's make it a guy that we're sawing in half and a chainsaw instead of like a fucking handsaw.
Gotcha.
And so I was just kind of like, and honestly, like the whole shower scene, which was like it was the most brutal scene of the film.
Yeah.
Like you didn't really need it.
No.
I mean, it was just it was there because it was like let's
see how nasty we can get. Let's see how many people we can get to throw up in the theater so they can write about it online.
Right. I mean, it was pretty gnarly. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, go see Terrifier 3 if you're interested in the brutality.
And that's our show on Terrifier 3.
No, we'll do. I think we should probably do an episode once you watch it. I think we should do like.
I mean, yeah, I feel like I have to just to finish the trilogy.
It is shocking that I saw it before you did.
And you had no interest in seeing
none,
these.
None. And I shit on it. I shit on those films hard.
You shat on it as soon as you watched the first one. You're like, fuck.
I'm like, nope, we're done here.
Never gonna see it again.
But then I was like, I'll probably see it. Yeah, I don't know.
Curiosity got the best of you.
It did. So, yeah. So, anyway, well, thank you for joining us this evening for our instant reaction for 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. If you haven't seen this film,
perfect movie.
You need to go watch it because if you're a horror fan, it's got to be one of those that's like on your list.
Wheelhouse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You got to check it out just to respect the filmmaking and respect like the OGs of the genre.
Where you came from.
Exactly. So, thank you for listening to this episode.
Yes, thanks, guys.
We hope you liked it. If not,
fuck off.
Exactly. And go out there and check us out on Instagram, Sinister Scripts, TikTok, Sinister Scripts Podcast. Check out the podcast wherever you get your podcast needs.
Yes.
And we're going to be coming to you again tomorrow. We're going to be doing our bracket.
Halloween death bracket.
That's right. We ranked some films tonight, so come back and listen to that, and we're going to see if you agree with our head-to-head matchups. I think we're actually – he doesn't know it yet. I think we're actually going to do it on Sunday. On Sunday, we're going to have Jamie Schmidt on the show to talk about his –
Yeah, he is the director of his movie Are You Dead Yet?
So we're going to talk to him about his movie, but he doesn't know it yet, but he's going to help us.
He is the impartial judge.
That's right. He's going to help us break down our bracket. And we'll get to hear his input. He's also been doing a 31 Days of Halloween where he's been watching a bunch of movies as well. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have some fun conversations. So tune in on Sunday. We're going to be talking to our first guest, and we will be live. So we'll have some video to post as well. So very exciting news coming to you from Sinister Scripts Podcast.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for listening, guys. Have a great evening.
Later.
Bye now.
Bye.
I do wish we could chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner. Bye.